All right, welcome to another edition of the 24th Floor. Even though college football isn't over yet, it's pretty much over for us here in the Mid-South after Ole Miss got beat.
Sadly, it was the end of a historic season, the end of the Lane Kiffin era, maybe the end of the Trinidad Chambliss story. I hope not.
We're going to dive into that in just a minute. We got so much to dive into, so we got to start with the man, the myth, the legend.
He's a frequent friend of the program. He's been talking Ole Miss football with us all season long. You can't talk Ole Miss athletics without him. Yep. He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcast. Mr. Steven Willis, once again, welcome to the program.
How are we doing, fellas? I know. Listen, Ole Miss lost in heartbreaking fashion. With like 20 seconds left, they were winning the game. But you will be hard-pressed to find an Ole Miss fan out there that has anything negative to say about a season in which Lane Kiffin left. They're like, let's go. We're excited. Pete Golding is now tied for third in all-time SEC playoff wins. So let's go.
That's a great way to start your career as your head coach, right? Like
Portal Pete.
You get those.
Mayor Pete, Portal Pete. Put something in front of Pete, he's Pete.
There's so much to talk about, Steven. So let's start with recapping the game. We all, I think, felt like Ole Miss had a real shot to win because the points they could put on the board. But, man.
Carson Beck walked him down.
Carson Beck did walk him down. I'm not an officials help kind of guy, but the officials helped a little bit. And Miami's defense. I mean,
yeah.
And it didn't help that Kewan Lacey was hurt for a large portion of that game. Thoughts?
Yeah, Kewan Lacey hurting a hamstring, definitely hurt. Andrew Jones going out on like the third play of the game with a foot injury, that really hurt because what Miami did was basically the same thing that Georgia did, and Ole Miss's answer to prevent that was bringing in Andrew Jones. And whenever he went off the field, they went right back to that a little bit. The thing I'm interested about is the first quarter did not look like a typical Ole Miss first quarter, which makes me question the script that was designed, and maybe the back and forth through LSU might have had a little bit of a role that played in that game. But at the end of the day, Ole Miss was 19 seconds away from playing in the national championship game. And I don't know that you could ask for much more as an Ole Miss fan. Pete Golding answered the questions that you hoped he would answer about coaching on the big stage. He did a fantastic job. And now that the transfer portal is open, Ole Miss is reaping those benefits as well. So, yeah, I think it's all good news right now. You would like to win the national title, of course, but if you got to this point right here, it's just one of those things. Hey, just smile. Keep your head up.
Yep. Steven, looking at this game, and we just had the highlights running, that last drive by Trinidad Chambliss was the best that I've ever seen him all along. I remember tweeting he might be the best I've ever seen because that last drive where he got the touchdown and the two-pointer, that was beautiful. And you just felt it for a minute that Ole Miss could do it. And so it's heartbreaking, because I know we have to be impartial because of members of the media, but you just kind of felt like Ole Miss was the team of destiny. And then Carson Beck walks them down and beats them. I mean, the people who don't know Ole Miss like us, they can be like, oh, well, they would have won with Lane Kiffin. But that was Pete Golding's defense. He's the guy. So how heartbreaking, how debilitating was it for you watching and just seeing in there that, man, like, can't really say nothing. Like, Pete Golding is your defense. You the head coach. That's on you, man.
Miami made plays in that game, but Ole Miss missed tackles. Ole Miss lost that football game because of missed tackles over the course of the night. And that honestly influences what Pete Golding did in the transfer portal for the 2026 class when they're going heavy as safeties and getting players that have played at the Power 4 level. I think the missed tackles really come back to hurt because on the back end of the defense, they spent the whole season protecting that secondary as best they can. Sometimes they hope that, hey, the front seven is going to be good enough to where they can compensate for that a little bit. they weren't able a couple of times this season to do that. And this Miami game, once tackles got missed, once problems kind of shown themselves in the secondary, Ole Miss just wasn't able to overcome.
Malachi Tony was killing them.
You just watched some missed tackles right there. But I'm going to be real honest with you. It's going to be hard to beat Indiana.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't care. If Ole Miss had won this game, I'm going to be real honest. I don't know that I would have picked them to beat Indiana.
That is the saving grace that I've said.
I
like,
watched
no
Fernando Mendoza in that game against Oregon. That dude is the real deal. Yeah. When he won the Heisman, I was like, who's this goofy dude winning the Heisman? But watching
He's
him.
Such a nice guy, though.
He can throw that ball on, but he throws dots.
Yeah.
Bro. Dots. So, yeah, to your point, Steven, a little bit of saving grace. Hey, we got as far as we got.
It's kind of funny that when you look at this game, there are parallels, and you wouldn't believe it with Indiana being this team, but Indiana has parallels to the Soviets back for the Miracle on Ice game, to where they're the machine. They're the ones that don't make mistakes. They chew everybody up and spit them out, and they go down to this plucky Miami team playing on their home soil because the game is in Miami, and there's parallels to the Miracle on Ice and the Lake Placid Olympics for the ice hockey tournament for this Miami Hurricanes team. And the upset, the fact that somehow Miami has become this consummate underdog that has no shot and just a plucky team that should be happy to be there, should probably scare some people in this national championship game.
So are you saying you think Miami has a chance?
I think Miami keeps it closer than the experts think.
I think Miami's got a chance because they're so physical, right?
Yeah.
I do think they're physical, but I'll be real honest. Mendoza does not make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
This dude has more touchdown
care of the
passes
ball.
than incompletions in the college football playoffs. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
He's got more touchdown passes than incompletions. Like, that's ridiculous. This dude makes plays.
He has not played that defensive line, though, yet.
True.
Yeah.
So if Indiana cannot block Ruben Bain, it doesn't matter how accurate Mendoza is. And if Miami can run the ball, which that has kind of been Indiana's defense kryptonite, is teams that can run the football. If you can do that, Miami will slow the game down. They'll take possessions away. We saw over the course of the game how that would look. I think because of that, it's going to be a fairly low-scoring game, and the question is going to become if Miami can keep them out of the end zone and force field goals.
I think the X factor will be Malachi Tony. Steven, you know, he killed Ole Miss in that game, and it's just like every time where Miami needed a play, he was coming up on third down, whether it was screen passes, whether it was over the middle. And that kid's just a freshman.
But it wasn't just him. It was third down conversions, which killed Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I'm saying he was the one who was making a lot of those third down conversions.
And time of possession, of possession in that game, oh, man. It was, what was it, 40 minutes to 15 or something like that? I mean, it was some crazy lopsided numbers. So those two things really do hurt in the course of a knockdown, drag-out game, for sure. Before we go too much deeper, because we've done that one, you've seen some of you called him Portal Pete a minute ago.
Yeah.
He's already pulling some pretty big names out of the portal.
Yeah, he pulled Deuce Knight from Auburn, which I don't know how I feel about this, Steven. You can kind of weigh in. Like, when I look at that Auburn team, there wasn't really anything that kind of excited me about them. I mean, they had Coleman, who the wide receiver, and I know he's on the move.
He's going to Texas.
Yeah, I think Texas. But other than that, like,
that doesn't mean that individually these dudes can't play.
They can, but if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm still, holding on to hope that Trinidad gets a 6th year. What do you think, Steven?
Yeah, and I think the ideal situation this season would be Deuce Knight learning behind Trinidad Chambliss for a year, seeing the way that he plays the quarterback position. Deuce Knight is potentially the most physically gifted quarterback that Ole Miss has ever had.
Wow.
And he can do Michael Vick type stuff. yeah, Lamar Jackson type stuff from the quarterback position. He started one game this season, and they did that because they wanted to save a red shirt for the guy that was going to be their starter and to let him have the Alabama game. So he started against Mercer. I get it. It was Mercer.
Yeah.
His first play, 75-yard touchdown run. His second play, 60-yard touchdown run. He combined for 6 touchdowns over the course of the game, threw for over 200 yards, ran for like 170 for the day. The guy, once he learns how to play the quarterback position, is going to be really good.
Well, you alluded to something that I know we all really want to talk about. We've kind of walked around it and tiptoed around it. Trinidad Chambliss and his eligibility.
Yeah.
So latest is
Ruben's on get a job mode.
no, not with Chambliss. I'm on get a job mode with old boy from Incarnate Word. Latest is lawsuit's going to be filed in Mississippi sometime this week. Now, for those of you at home who don't kind of understand the specifics of this, where you file your lawsuit actually does matter.
Isn't the judge an Ole Miss alum?
There's a lot of things that go into play here. And so, Stephen, I'll let you touch base on some of this, but it's not just a matter of filing against – like, they're not going to go to New York and file this thing. They're not going to go to Indiana and file this thing. They're going to file it in the heartland in Mississippi.
Yes, and for anybody that doesn't know, the judges in Mississippi, that's an elected position. And odds are the judge that is there went to Ole Miss law as well. So it does matter. Now, the way this works is the NCAA denied Trinidad Chambliss's waiver the day after the Miami game. Good timing there. And then Ole Miss is going through the appeals process. But while that is going on, William Liston and Tom Mars, the lawyers for Trinidad Chambliss, are preparing to file a lawsuit in Mississippi State Court, not federal court, in the state level court. And what they're hoping to get, and what I think is going to happen, what they want is an injunction, a temporary restraining order that will allow him to play. That is very similar to what Diego Pavia got for Vanderbilt. It's a different situation to where his injuries and all of that was not documented at the D2 level, because at the D2 level, they don't have to do things that way. On D1, it has to be looked at in a different way that is more thoroughly vetted. D2, just because they don't have the money and all of that, they don't have to do that. So D2 to D1, there's obviously some wires getting crossed over and over. This is a case that honestly looks like it's a slam dunk win for Trinidad Chambliss if it gets into the legal system. But Ole Miss and Trinidad and all of them, they're giving the NCAA a chance to kind of save face before the lawsuit gets filed. So they're waiting to hear what happens with this NCAA appeal before they file. But I think right now, if you ask me to bet, Trinidad Chambliss would be the starting quarterback on the first snap for Ole Miss this year.
Now, I talked to Ruben about this earlier in the week. And Trinidad, obviously, he has become one of my favorite college quarterbacks I've ever watched. But you got to look at it. Why not just, with the year you've had, and why don't you just try to see what you can get in the NFL? Yes, he may not be a first-round pick. But if he actually goes and tries, maybe goes to the combine, works out with some teams, he can rise up the board. And this quarterback class isn't even all that good. And we've seen in the NFL that little guys can do it. Look at Kyler Murray. Look at Baker Mayfield. Even Bryce Young to a certain extent. Yeah. Steven, why do you think he don't just try to go to the NFL?
Steven, I'm going to jump in before you do this one. You got to think about the money difference between a first-round pick and a third-round pick. Now go ahead, Steven.
And you have to think about the money difference between that and add the NIL and rev share opportunity for Ole Miss, which is rumored to be about $6 million if Trinidad Chambliss is declared eligible. It's a situation to where you get your draft grade if you're not first or second round, because I think it is a slam dunk. If you get the draft grade and it's first or second round, you're gone. But if you're third round or after that, it's honestly not smart to leave college when you have a $6 million offer for what's going on, because you're in the realm there in the third round of non-guaranteed contracts, the not very big signing bonuses and all of that. So Trinidad potentially needs to get this injunction and come back to Ole Miss because of the money that's on the table. And isn't it crazy that we're in this world to where, yeah, if he goes to the NFL, it would be a pay cut. You're betting on yourself going to the NFL. The safer move would be to come back to school.
But then if he comes back, what if, and then, he balls out again and he doesn't really move his stock like that, then what are you saying?
He's going to have to go anyway at that point. But to your point, and I would say this, another year at that level is not going to hurt him.
Yeah, of
it's only
course.
going to help him. And I think, this decision isn't being made lightly. I'm sure they've done some level of NFL grading, and he didn't get back the number that he wanted for whatever reason. He may be wanting to go one, and nobody's going to take Fernando's spot. So, he may
But
be
then
saying,
you see guys like Ty Simpson, who was kind of dropped across the board. Dante Moore's probably been taking some hits. I just think that this quarterback class isn't as good as next year. And even if he declares next year, I don't know if we're having him in QB1 talks next year, even having another full SEC slate. It's just really for him. This reminds me a lot of Cardale Jones with Ohio State.
But it's all different because of the NIL money.
Yeah.
That's where the biggest difference comes, to Steven's point. When you're talking about he knows, guarantees he's getting that money from Ole Miss if he can stay eligible. There is no real guarantee in the NFL.
That even if he doesn't go to the NFL, he'll be like, at least I still was $6 million richer.
Yes, he could play a year, get his $6 million or whatever that number is, go try in the NFL, not make a team, and still have a fat bank account.
Yeah.
Would you walk away from $6 million?
No.
Okay, then.
But, hey, I've seen it in college. Guys have, tested their luck. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, look at Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant,
Again.
7th round.
Again. The
7th round.
NIL is the difference now, though.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, and if Trinidad Chambliss comes back, he's likely going to be the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. Ole Miss is going to be preseason top 5 and going to be the talk of the sport. I mean, there is a very real world where somebody as charismatic as Trinidad Chambliss, he might get $6 million from Ole Miss. He might get even more on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I think we've exhausted this one today. It's time to take our first break. Steven, we're going to let you go for now, but next week when we bring you on, we got to get all the way into basketball.
Yeah, it's that time.